What's going on, everybody? You're listening to the Steve and Steve Show. This is Steven Ontiveros here with my partner, Steve Van Durham. Steve, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. Big shout out to all of our listeners out there, especially Joe Camparelli, our #1 fan out there. Don't know if you have much of a choice, but thank you very much for listening.
Thanks for tuning in, sir. So we're just going to jump right into it with our top story. It's going to be the top story for the next few days here, and that's Super Bowl 50 is this Sunday. It's going to be in sunny Santa Clara, California, as the NFC champion Carolina Panthers will go up against the AFC champion Denver Broncos. Steve, what are your thoughts going into this game?
Well, a big storyline obviously coming into this game is the old school versus new school. The Broncos running a bit of a more traditional offense with Peyton Manning at the helm. Cam Newton and the Panthers running more of a hybrid offense. Obviously, the offense is centered around Cam, as it should be, Cam being their best player. And then another big storyline is the defenses. These are two of the best defenses in the league about to go after it. And we'll see which one's going to break first.
You know, I'm just really interested to see how Peyton Manning plays. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and this could be the last time that we actually see him out there on the field. And, he hasn't had the best season, obviously. He went down with injury, and even though he missed, 6 games, I think it was, he still led the league in interceptions, so it's definitely not the Peyton of old, not even the Peyton of 2 years ago that led the Broncos to the Super Bowl before they got thrashed by the Seahawks. But there was just something about him in that AFC Championship game that seemed different. I don't know if it was his demeanor because he realized, he wanted to play one last game in his career. It was the last time he was going up against Tom Brady, but he just seemed different. He played with a lot more confidence. I think he sort of adapted, to the fact, he sort of accepted the fact that he's not the Peyton Manning that we're used to seeing and that he's used to being, and he just sort of accepted himself and his new skill set, and I think that's what really led the Broncos against the Patriots in the AFC Championship game.
Right, and this Broncos team of this year is exactly what Elway wanted. After they got blown out by the Seahawks, John Elway said, he wanted to get a tougher football team and get a more defensive-minded team. And he goes out and gets people like DeMarcus Ware and to sign with the team. And now they have one of the best defenses in the league, arguably, and they have a running game now as well. A couple of years ago, they didn't have much of a running game. Now C.J. Anderson, Ronnie Hillman is a two-headed beast out there. Started off a little slow this year with the running game, but it's definitely improved over the course of the year, and they're going strong right now.
Yeah, I think, though, that at the end of the day, when you look at that NFC Championship game, the Panthers just dominated from the beginning, where, in the AFC Championship game, you have these two teams that have been hurt all season, and it comes down to a 2-point conversion at the end, whereas in the NFC Championship game, you just had the Panthers overwhelming the Cardinals from kickoff, and I think that's going to carry over into the Super Bowl. I could be wrong, but I have the Panthers winning 35-21, and I don't know about you, but I think that it's going to be a Panthers win.
I think it's going to be a Panthers win as well. I've got 24-10. I believe that the Panthers' offense is a little bit better than the Broncos' offense, and with the defenses both being very, very good, I think that with Peyton Manning, he did lead the league in interceptions this year, and he's, if he throws a few of those, then he could set the Panthers up big in deep into Broncos territory, and that could spell trouble for the Broncos.
I think it's going to come down to forcing extra possessions, which defense can force more turnovers and get the ball more than they should, and I think that's going to be the Panthers' defense. I think they're going to capitalize on Peyton Manning. I think if you look at Ronnie Hillman and C.J. Anderson, even though they've picked it up lately, I still think that that's something that the Panthers' defense can expose, especially that front with Quan Short up there. I think it's definitely going to be a rough day for the Broncos and Broncos fans, especially after the last time they were in the Super Bowl.
Right. So now let's head over to the NBA. Now, Steven, we're down here in Arizona. Now tell me, how bad are the Suns?
You can't get much worse than the Suns. I mean, it's a mess there. If it weren't for my Lakers being so completely terrible this season, they'd be the worst team in the Pacific Division. And even though they're not in last, even though you have teams with worse records like the Lakers, like the 76ers, I think that the Suns are the worst franchise in the NBA right now. They don't, at least those two other teams have building blocks that they can use towards the future. Suns don't really have much, and then they just fired Jeff Hornacek, so things aren't looking pretty in Phoenix right now.
Yeah, right now the Suns are just a walking example of instability with all of their coach firings this year. It was like a month ago when they just randomly fired all of their assistants midway through the year, and then obviously Jeff Hornacek was on the chopping block any day, and he finally got the axe yesterday. And just today they announced that TJ Warren is going to be out for the year, yet another injury for the Suns. They have not been healthy all year, and they're missing almost all of their key players. They still have Tyson Chandler, and they're relying on Archie Goodwin and people like from the D League like Jordan McRae now for production. It's not pretty at all down there.
I mean, it's kind of crazy to see when you're looking back, the shift that's gone on in the Suns organization. The past few seasons, up until this season at least, they were fighting for that 8th spot in the West because, you have the deep Western Conference. There was a chance that they could sneak into the playoffs. But, it started last year at the deadline. They trade Goran Dragic to Miami. They trade Isaiah Thomas to the Celtics, which was really weird considering he had just signed that big free agent deal with them in the offseason prior. It's just really, really weird what's going on there. I don't know what they have a plan or if they have a plan at all. It's going to be interesting to watch, especially being so close to them. I know I could tell you. I know we've both been to a couple Suns games this year. It hasn't been pretty. No. It's been even in the games that we've seen them win, they've been sloppy wins, and it's really just. I saw him beat the Clippers, but in that game, Chris Paul was hurt.
Got ejected
Blake Griffin got 2 techs and got ejected. Their wins have been pretty lucky.
Yeah.
I don't see them turning around anytime soon.
Yeah, and obviously they are very bad right now, but imagine how different it could be if A, they had stayed healthy, and B, LaMarcus Aldridge would have signed here. Imagine that lineup of Knight, Bledsoe, Aldridge, Tyson Chandler. That's a really good starting lineup. They could probably make the playoffs with that if they would stay healthy.
Especially this year, the West, past couple of years we've been used to this story that the West is deep and the East is top heavy, but it seems that this year at least it's kind of flipped. You have a lot of contenders in the East, whereas the West you really have at the top the Warriors, the Spurs, and the Thunder. Not really much else behind that. So if this is the year that the Suns were if the Suns were ever gonna compete, it would be this year. So I think it's just kind of odd that they kind of broke up the band that was, at least that's somewhat, was somewhat successful the year before they could have made the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So and speaking of Valley sports. What about the Coyotes? They're doing very well this year. They're in 3rd place in the Pacific Division. If the playoffs started today, they'd be in them for the first time in a while. What do you think of the Coyotes?
I think the Coyotes are a nice story. We just had the All-Star break, so we still got half the season left to go, but they could make the playoffs. They might not. Really, though, I don't see them going far. It's a nice story. It's something that Arizona sports fans can be happy about because as of the past few seasons, they've really only had the Cardinals to look to, and the way that season ended wasn't great. So
the Ryan Lindley game.
Last year you had the Lindley game when Palmer was out, and that wasn't ideal at all. But it's just something. It's nice to say, the Coyotes are contending, but even the city that they're playing in doesn't want them. No one really cares about hockey out here, which is kind of sad because it's not a bad team, and so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. There's a lot left, a lot of the season left. Maybe they'll jump up a couple spots, but I wouldn't expect much out of the Coyotes this year.
But, there really is some opportunity for the growth of hockey here in the Valley, especially with Sun Devil Hockey transitioning to Division I.
Yeah.
And there have been plans. An article came out, I believe it was Saturday, that announced that there could be plans for ASU Hockey and the Coyotes to possibly share a new arena. They'd be building a new arena in Tempe, which I think would be very good for the growth of the sport overall. Most of the Coyotes fan base, a lot of it's based in the East Valley with Tempe and Mesa, and having the team closer to that fan base could draw a lot more attendance, a lot more revenue for the team, and just add up to a lot of success both for ASU and for the Coyotes, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think, ASU making the jump to D1 here out on the West Coast where college hockey isn't all that popular. I think they're going to be one of the first of many teams to make this jump. And there's been rumors lately of Cal Berkeley adding a D1 team, University of Utah doing the same. So I think it's smart of Arizona State to jump on the bandwagon before everyone else does, to sort of make their mark and sort of get recruits down here. I mean, we were there, at Oceanside Arena this past weekend for, it was a D2 game, it wasn't the D1 game, but still, there were a decent amount of fans there considering it was a D2 team.
Yeah.
But, I think that arena, you can't keep a D1 team there for much longer. You're going to have to do something about it, and I think that this partnership with the Coyotes would be perfect for both teams.
I think so too. And as far as West Coast college hockey goes, it's really not there. The ASU is the first Pac-12 institution to make the jump to Division I college hockey, and the only really Western teams besides us are the Alaska schools, obviously, and then you have the University of Denver, which has a good hockey program. Otherwise, it's just not there. And it would be great to one day see a whole Pac-12 hockey.
That would be a lot of fun to see.
That would be a lot of fun to see. But yeah, I do think ASU needs a new arena. Oceanside's okay for like a D2 club team, but it's just too small to host a D1 team
Definitely.
Consistently. And a new arena with the Coyotes would help both sides, and I think it would be great. It would be good for the students too, because Oceanside Arena is not very accessible to, especially to Tempe students, because it's so far off campus.
Yeah.
You would want to build something closer to campus so that students can attend games.
And if you're looking at Glendale right now, that's not light rail accessible, it's not bus accessible, so it's really hard unless you have a car for Arizona State students to get to Coyotes games, which I think is a big chunk of the market that they're missing out on. So it would be beneficial to, I think, everybody. I don't think anyone loses out. And even, the only loser in the deal would be Glendale, because they're getting a professional sports team taken away. But they don't even want the Coyotes there. So, I don't see any problems with this move. I don't see anything, stopping it from happening. I think it would be a good move for all sides.
I think so, too. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us on Steve and Steve. I'm Steve Van Durham.
And I'm Steven Ontiveros, and we'll see you next time.
Good night.